Hello. So, I have a kind of different kind of video here. It's still going to be about music. Um, this is going to be how video game music has inspired me as a classical musician. Um, so, you're actually listening to some video game music right now, and I'll explain that in just a second. But I have always played video games since I was very, very young. Um, Maybe 3 or 4 years old. I don't even remember. But like before I even like did anything about music myself, I always play video games. So they hold a very important part of my life. Um, and yeah, there hasn't been a time in my life that I can remember that I haven't been immersed in video games in some way. Um, so this is going to be how that connects to my music uh, interest, career, and those are kind of the two pillars of my life that I always say to people: video games and classical music. So what you're actually listening to right now is Northern Desert from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time and Darkness, and I guess also Sky, one of the games that I had growing up. I guess probably around elementary, middle school, something like that. Um, and the reason I'm playing this right now is because this is where a lot of the first inspiration started. I mean, I love video game music. Um, before 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 I heard this, um, but this is when I started to like really listen to it more critically, or not. I wouldn't say critically. I would say like with more of a musician's mindset, if that makes sense. Um, so what I mean by that is, um, they obviously with the video game music, they're not really using, or at least in this time, this is for the Nintendo DS. Um, it wasn't super advanced hardware like we have now, so a lot of the music had to be made with like MIDI instruments, or may not be MIDI. I'm not super well versed in music tech, but basically digital instruments. So what we're listening to right now is not actual people playing actual instruments. But I started thinking about what would this sound like if actual instruments were playing it. So like if I was listening to this right now, like I can hear things that I think sound like clarinet and flute there, like in the melody. And then I thought of like, oh, this kind of sounds like tenor sax in the melody here. And then also, I guess, if we really want to go far into it, there's really high violins. um, so yeah, I started picking out like what all of these different instruments would be, and like how would that sound if like people actually played it. And I really got curious about that idea. So if you can see what's on the screen right now, um, I started. It's kind of hidden right now, but I started doing a little bit of transcribing. Um, this is another song from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Well, I put Explorers of Sky because that's like the definitive version, but it's also from Time and Darkness. Um, so this is Hidden Land, and I transcribed this for what I thought would be appropriate instruments. We're not going to talk about the score order. That's not important. We don't know why. We don't know why. um, but yeah, and this also was partially serving like the group of people that I thought I could get to play these with me. So I had a flute player friend. I had a clarinet, well, two clarinet player friends, and well, probably more than that, but well, yeah, actually more than that. But like the people that I was thinking and that would fit the music, it was like, yeah, I want to get these four instruments, and then I was playing the oboe myself. So I'm just gonna play some of this. And how I transcribe this is really just like listening to the original over and over and over, and like pausing it like every honestly second or two to like try to pick out what notes were being played. And I will say right now, I don't have perfect pitch. um, if I'm probably the closest to having perfect pitch now because I've done this. Because just like it was really grueling, but like I really wanted to do it, so I spent my time just like listening, like and plugging in notes in at the time MuseScore 2, I believe. This is MuseScore 4, but like seeing when the notes would match up, like plugging one in and like listening back is like, is that the right note that I put in? And then changing it if needed. So I'm gonna, without talking more, I'm gonna play some of what I have. And this was in high school, I should say, like the later half of high school. Yeah. So let me also, before I say much about it, I'm gonna play the original now. And I'm gonna skip ahead because you can listen to the whole thing yourself, but I'm gonna go to the more legato section, let's say. Okay, so first off, I mean the whole inspiration behind this video, I was feeling like half in a composing mood, like a week or so back, and I wanted to, but like I wasn't ready to like actually write something down. So I wanted to like just like look through stuff that I had in my like files on my computer for like music stuff. So I dug up these again, and I am honestly quite impressed with what I was able to transcribe. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything. There's definitely some things that could be better about this, but like all things considered, like it's pretty close, pretty good. Um, um, like I mean, especially because at this point in my musical career, if you can call it that, because like I was literally in high school, like, and I hadn't had any formal theory training. Like I didn't even know how to play piano at all at that point. Um, it was literally just my knowledge of playing uh, oboe and clarinet before that, that kind of guided me on my way and like being in band classes and that sort of thing. And it's kind of impressive that, at least to me, impressive that I was able to do this. Um, I mean, it took me many, 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 many hours, um, but I don't know, it's cool. And I think also that was like the first one of the, I should say one of the first times that like music really grasped me in terms of like I'm really motivated to do this. Like, and it's not like for any specific goal or anything. It's just like I want to do this because I love this music and I love music. So I think that was a very um, important point for me in my musical career, in my life in general. Um, um, some stuff I kind of cheated a bit because since we have four wind players, obviously we need to breathe. So that's why there's sometimes like some dovetailing going on. Um, but yeah, I really just worked with what I had, and excuse some of the um, odd looking parts of the score is because it like transferred over to from 2 to 3 to 4, music score 2 to 3 to 4. Um, so stuff got jumbled up, but also I imagine it wasn't super neat back then either. So um, before I talk more about this, I'm gonna go to the next one, and let me see if I can remember how to make this go over here. So bear with me for a second. We're gonna do. Oh wait, actually we can just. Aren't you so glad that I didn't edit this video? Unless I end up editing this video, and then that comment will be pointless. Okay. Yes, that's what I want. Okay, so this is another song from, I guess, my childhood. This is Moon Song from Cave Story. Um, Another fantastic game. Um, Let me play it. Okay, and let's listen to the original. And I think that's enough of that. I actually got a little carried away just listening to it. Okay, so let's take a look back at this. There's a couple of things of note here. Um, One, we've changed up instrumentation. We have three clarinets now. Remember, I also play clarinet, so I could get the same friends from earlier to play clarinet, and then just have me playing clarinet instead of oboe, same flute player. Then we have trombone because we need a bass line. Uh, this is kind of more out of necessity because that's like the one bass line. Uh, like, I mean, it's high school band, so like there's not going to be like a ton of variety. I mean, more than like middle school or definitely elementary school, but um, like the one bassoon player that I know knew um, probably wouldn't have been able to do this with us. So like in terms of like his schedule and everything. Um, Although this was during the summer, I'm getting ahead of myself. But basically, it was easiest to get a trombone player because of the people that I knew. Um, um, Now that doesn't really fit well with the rest of the group because four woodwinds and very loud trombone. Like even as we listen to the recording, like it's like the trombone is kind of just like overpowering everything. And um, wow, that's weird. I put mezzo piano for the flute and then mezzo forte for the trombone. That's so weird. Okay. I mean, I know yeah. Who who knows? I can see like some reasoning behind that, but like, nah. But anyway, this is years ago, so whatever changes I want to make, it's in the past. It doesn't matter. Um, but speaking of the people that I was playing with, this is another thing that this doing this kind of taught me that I kind of alluded to earlier. Obviously, I had people playing this with me, um, and that was one of the first experiences that I really had, like truly uh, interacting with other musicians. Like obviously, I talked to other people who were in my band class like the previous years and stuff like that. But this was like something we were not doing like academically at all or anything. Like I said, it was during the summer. I think I had transcribed a few of these video game songs, like probably near the end of one of the school years, and then I asked people if they could come over to my house during the summer to play them with me. At the time, the goal was to like make super good recordings of them and like post them on YouTube, and people would be like, "Whoa, you can." You can play video game music with instruments, and I was like, I mean, obviously, many people do that now, and with their own different styles. But I was like, I'm gonna be the first. This is gonna be awesome. And I mean, it's good that it gave me that motivation. Um, it was maybe a little bit of a pipe dream for being in high school, but and with all that's necessary out of like trying to get the parts in this. But with that goal in mind, I was a little intense at times with because I really wanted it to be like as close to perfect as possible. Once again, we were high schoolers, so while we may have had like some base level control over our instruments because we had been playing them for however many years, we were still high schoolers. So it's like I definitely was expecting too much of the group and of myself, definitely. Um, uh, and I think that was one of the first times that I really, like I said, had that experience, like unsupervised with other musicians, uh, really figuring out like, oh, this is how I should interact with these people. Um, this is how we should like rehearse something on our own and that sort of thing. Um, so, uh, and yeah, and that's still like a learning process for me right now, like figuring out like how to make things manageable for people, like not even with part writing, just like trying not to be too intense or nitpicky or anything. Just like making sure people are still happy as they're making music because we're trying to make people happy when we make music. So, um, let's see. There was something else. Oh yeah, we already talked about a little bit of the balance thing with like the trombone and the 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 woodwinds. Um, Also in that same vein or a similar vein as the um, interacting with other musical colleagues. Um, Whoop, didn't mean to do that. Um, some of this, well, okay, mostly looking at this. I did not give myself clarinet one. um, I was playing the super easy clarinet three, um, but like this kind of helped me realize the person who was playing clarinet one was a good clarinet player. Um, um, like definitely better than me. um, then again, I've been playing oboe, but regardless, she was definitely good. Um, this was also one of my first experiences with like register actually matters because yes, these notes are possible on clarinet, but it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, especially just out of the blue. Like, well, it's not out of the blue, but it's regardless, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, just because it's up in the stratosphere like that. Even with it being possible, possible doesn't mean probable, um, especially depending on who the actual person playing is. Um, and yeah, so I think this specifically was a very big learning experience because this was a lot harder to put together than um, than Hidden Land. Um, and I mean, I do remember like a moment where we were like rehearsing for our eventual recording that never happened. um, 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 and there was like some tension between us because I was being very much like, we have to get this perfect, and then other people were like, we're trying our best. So, and it didn't like it's not like a sour thing now or anything. Like we're all still friends, and we occasionally check in with each other to see how we're doing and that sort of thing. So it's like it was just a learning experience. So that's kind of um, that's pretty neat. Okay, so there's one more that I want to show before I talk my head off. So this is oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Um, I know how to do this. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So this is from a game called Fossil Fighters, and I think by this point, um, I had been at least completed my first year of college, or like been in my first year of college, like in somewhere in that. Um, but let me just play it first. Okay, so this is from well, first let me talk about the elephant in the room. There, I didn't completely finish this because, well, I just I was just like, what do I even write here? Because it's basically, as you'll hear, kind of like a digital harp going, um, and it's just like a bunch of notes. So it was like really hard for me, and then at some point I lost interest. And like this was once again like somewhere like in the start of college, I believe. So I had uh, other probably more pressing things. Not to say that um, high school is not busy or anything. It definitely is. But yeah, I basically I was like, this is not worth my time right now. Um, um, so I didn't end up finishing these last couple of bars. Also because this is clearly a bigger thing because I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 instruments, and this is purely by this time my high school friends we'd all been like going our separate ways. Some had left the state to go to their own colleges, or some were still in high school. Some were doing. It was just we were basically all doing our own thing at that point. Um, so um, it so yeah, this was purely just like a 1 day sort of thing. Like maybe I could play this with people 1 day, and I did my best with the instrumentation, like with what I thought was realistic and but what also sounded good, which is why we have so much pizzicato. um, um, because it was supposed to be emulating the harp. I pretty much put a string quartet in place of a harp, and this was also 2 violas actually. I am realizing now it's not double stops. I feel like those would be brutal double stops. I'm not sure because I'm not um, a string player, but also that's another thing. This really forced me to learn more about the possibilities and limitations with string instruments and like string notation and everything. I can remember a specific moment that I actually texted one of my high school friends like, how do you notate pizzicato on a string part? Because she was in the orchestra and obviously had experience with that, and I, as a wind player, did not. Um, yeah, this also the whole bass part played pizzicato for some reason, but it was only supposed to be pizzicato for these literally 3 notes. um, but yeah, this was like more. I think this is kind of when I got more in the stride of doing it. There had been other pieces that I tried to transcribe in the middle of the pieces that I showed today, but but um, this is definitely when I was more experienced with that sort of thing because I had had so many other uh, attempts before, and at this point, I had most likely taken at least some of a music theory course, and like started to understand how that world works. And I had taken piano as well, so I had music theory from that experience. So it was definitely um, more structured in some ways, more unhinged in some ways. Maybe not unhinged. Like, well, okay, no, this is definitely unhinged. This do it. Like, what even is this? um, um, I mean, I guess it's not super different from playing an arco up here on the violin, but like, still, who's gonna hear that? Um, oh wait, this is the pizzicato line. Whoops. Um, but still, that's kind of weird. Anyway, um, yeah, and I also really indulged in my love of the oboe, 2 oboes in an English horn, and that is actually the last thing I want to talk about because I'm going to play the original as I'm talking about this. If I can find it. I got this. There we go. Here we go. So, as I mentioned, or I probably didn't mention actually, this is from a game called Fossil Fighters, um, a game that I played probably in middle school or like early middle school, maybe late elementary school, and this was one of my favorite games, like growing up, and still one of my favorite games to this day. Um, it's not a super popular game. I mean, there definitely is community around it, but it's definitely still niche. There hasn't been a new game in the series in like 10 years, maybe. Um, but I love this game, and this is one of the songs that I absolutely adored, and I still love. And it's I remember just like listening to this on repeat, like after I beat the game, it's just like I gotta keep listening to the song, like because I can't hear it in the game anymore because I already beat it, but I still love it so much, and I'm going into so much detail about this because literally right before doing this, um, right before, uh, like as I was setting up like the things to show and everything, I realized that this is actually the reason why I play the oboe. Uh, when this game came out, or when I got this game, I most likely was still playing clarinet in school. I didn't switch to oboe until the summer after seventh grade. This game came out when I believe I was in either sixth or early seventh grade. Um, so, I like this. Like once again, it's been like an hour since I figured this out. So this is like super. It's like a big epiphany for me still. But the main melody in this is played by um, an English horn, which I could tell was not a clarinet, but um, I remembered from like third grade or something, like seeing in music class like a video of like all of the orchestral instruments, and I remember oboe being in it, and it having a description of like a nasal sound. It's like this may not be the oboe, but maybe it is. Maybe it's like a related instrument, and I was like, I want to play an instrument that sounds like that because I like maybe because I just wanted to play this song, but it's it's at some point after that, I'm pretty sure like I like asked to play oboe in my band and asked my family if we could get an oboe, and I guess a cliche. The rest is history because like now oboe is my primary instrument. I have played English horn a few times. I've played this on English horn, like just like the transcription that I wrote, because like, and probably also just trying to noodle it and figure it out by ear. But it's kind of wild how things work out like that, because I've been like with my personal friends always just like talk about this game and like this song and like, oh, this is so awesome. And like literally just today, I'm realizing that this is probably the reason I started playing the oboe. Because I also remember trying to play this on clarinet, and I was like, I guess it kind of sounds similar, um, but I really wanted something that sounded closer, and the oboe was that, and it's just really nice. Yeah, so that is how video game music has inspired me as a classical musician. Um, I hope this was enjoyable. Um, I hope my old transcriptions weren't too scary, but yeah, yeah, it. If one thing I didn't mention is uh, I also started composing my own stuff after this. Like, okay, now I know how to use a music notation software, so that's also a benefit to doing all of this. So, like, I mean, honestly, if anyone is interested in like doing, uh, getting into like writing their own music, it might not be a bad idea to just try transcribing some stuff. Um, and that sort of thing. And I've always been really appreciative of video games in my life, and this is just another way that I am, and it's a pretty big way. Like, it literally has changed my life. So, anyway, I can ramble on for years and years, but I think this is probably a good place to stop. Um, Once again, I hope you enjoyed, and keep playing those instruments, keep making music. I don't know. Do something. Have fun.